The new base model Nintendo Switch is slowly but surely replacing the original, and with it we have to state that the Switch is already one of the most influential consoles of all time. And yes, this can indeed be stated, despite the system only being in the middle of its third year on the market. And though the number of strengths attached to the system are seemingly endless, there is a little problem that we have to discuss. Specifically problems that are attached to the Nintendo Switch Lite. But before we dive deep into the topic, let us state that this video is not meant to spread hate or anything like that, but rather to address actual concerns regarding the non-switchable dedicated handheld Nintendo Switch Lite. Which, no doubt, as a smaller, more handheld-friendly Switch, will sell great when it launches alongside Link's Awakening on September 20th, with hopefully a Zelda-themed system. After all, it already has a legendary Zacian and Zamazenta bundle confirmed specifically for the launch of Pokemon Sword and Shield in November. That is of course the game that will no doubt, along with Animal Crossing New Horizons in March 2020, drive home some crazy sales for the Lite following its launch.
But the Nintendo Switch Lite is still a mystery. For one, now with an enhanced base model Nintendo Switch, do we even need this system? Or would it be better to just continue with the Switch that can actually switch? Well, I have uploaded a little monologue of me talking about exactly that through Amino Stories. Yes, that's right, Nintendo Switch Amino now has video stories, and as you may have guessed, this video is powered by Nintendo Switch Amino, which also finances some big upcoming Nintendo productions on this channel. So what is Nintendo Switch Amino? It's a smartphone community app which allows you, that's right you, to create posts and share news stories, and your own opinions and theories on the Nintendo Switch Lite and Pro, and also video stories, as I've already mentioned. So make sure to check out this exclusive monologue that is not in this video, so make sure to follow Common Wolfram on Nintendo Switch Amino, where we will share all our rapid Nintendo Switch Lite thoughts that are too short for full-scale YouTube videos that will say 1 minute to 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. That is Amino Stories on Nintendo Switch Amino for you, though there are many other Amino communities that you can find by downloading the app from the App Store or Google Play for free today. Now then, let's have a look at how the two systems fare in some key categories that will be important to you as an existing Switch owner or aims to become one. Let's begin with a well-known issue, the Joy-Con analog stick drifting issue. The left Joy-Con analog stick drifting, though fixable, has created a backlash like no other attached to the Switch, with class action lawsuits being filed in the US. This in itself shook Nintendo of America, which has turned away from its policy of charging up to $50 for analog stick repairs to offering free repairs to all Joy-Con owners suffering of this hardware flaw. It still remains to be seen if Nintendo of Europe will follow suit, but it wouldn't come as a surprise with the much more stricter consumer laws and protection found in EU countries.
But individual detachable Joy-Cons is one thing, a Nintendo Switch with no detachable Joy-Cons, no HD rumble, IR camera, and potentially flawed analog left sticks is a whole different story. Now it does help that it comes with a proper D-pad and a 5.5-inch screen which is easier to carry around, and that the ABXY buttons will feel more similar to a Pro controller rather than the bundled Joy-Cons with the regular Switch. But the potential issue of having to send in your entire system instead of one Joy-Con just to have a single faulty analog stick repaired is pretty terrifying. This is important as we all know the life cycle of new games coming to Nintendo Switch, the Lite and future revisions is likely to stretch to at least 2023. Obviously, the Joy-Con drifting isn't the only issue that the Nintendo Switch Lite might face upon its release, but it is by far the most crucial. After all, Nintendo wants to avoid a potentially even bigger scandal 1 or 2 years from now, as the drifting usually appears at least a couple of months after purchase. However, you know what is visible at once? When the battery life of your product is lower than the product you're supposed to outmatch. Since the new Nintendo Switch model with the Nvidia Marico chip is about to replace the current model, offer one massive boost, namely battery life. This comes as a surprise to many, as you would expect that the Nintendo Switch Lite is as a dedicated handheld supposed to have longer battery life, much more than the standard Nintendo Switch, and for 1 week it looked like 30 minutes to 1 hour longer battery life was the big selling point. This is not the case anymore, since with the new Nintendo Switch out, the Lite's battery has been decimated by sheer numbers. Up to 9 hours versus 7 on less demanding titles, 5.5 hours versus 4 when it comes to the biggest battery drainer, Breath of the Wild. This may be because the Nintendo Switch Lite also needs to power a controller while the Joy-Cons on the regular Switch run on their own separate batteries.
But still, which one is supposed to be the handheld again? In many ways, it is mind-boggling that Nintendo would drop a more efficient base model prior to a handheld version, which will only have a lower price, a proper D-pad and better ABXY buttons to boast for. In every way you look at it, the lack of a better battery in the Nintendo Switch Lite feels like a lost opportunity for a dedicated handheld, and a decision on Nintendo's party that will most likely cause more people to use the new base model Nintendo Switch as a handheld more so than the Nintendo Switch Lite. Though there is another reason for why the Nintendo Switch Lite's handheld capabilities may be a little limited: battery durability and replacement. One of the main issues with laptops, mobile phones and other handheld devices these days is that where in the past replacing the battery couldn't have been easier, today is not as easy. All Nintendo handhelds since the Game Boy Advance SP, that will say the DS, DSi, 3DS, new 3DS, and even the Wii U had easy to replace batteries. You just open the back cover, detach the cable connecting the battery to the motherboard, and then simply replace it with a new battery, or in the case of the Wii U, a longer or stronger battery.
The Nintendo Switch, on the other hand, is not battery replacement friendly. For one, instead of being mounted, the battery in the Nintendo Switch is glued to the system. Originally back in 2017, Nintendo hinted they would set up a paid battery replacement service, but so far this one has failed to materialize. Since how long will the battery last with the advertised 7 hours when you will be charging and using it as a handheld much more often than as a base Nintendo Switch? Since replacing the battery will cost both for the battery itself and the procedure, and this might become an issue already in 2021, depending on the usage of course. But if you don't have a base model Nintendo Switch, the battery durability might become an issue when, say, playing the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which for sure will require many charges in order to complete upon release. The Nintendo Switch Lite might make Nintendo set up a battery replacement service sooner rather than later, but then you have the question: will it be free like it currently is with the default faulty Joy-Con analog stick, or will they charge $100 for the service? That will say the price difference between a new Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch Lite.
Pricing and required accessories. This one is a big deal. $199 or $299. So this is a $100 price difference enough to justify the lack of a dock and capability to dock, built-in kickstand, detachable Joy-Cons, HD rumble and IR camera, plus now lower battery life. What is the price we're willing to pay for a Joy-Con D-pad? This is a question every one of us has to ask ourselves. Both we who already own old Nintendo Switches, but also those of us that are still waiting to join the party and wonder if one should buy the new Nintendo Switch, a Nintendo Switch Lite, or simply wait for a Nintendo Switch Pro which might or might not materialize for the sequel of Breath of the Wild 2. For me, I feel like the Nintendo Switch Lite is priced $25 too high, and at a price of $175 will be much more reasonable when you bring a better base model Switch before your new dedicated handheld. If the Nintendo Switch Lite was way smaller and would fit in my pocket, no problem. But as it is, the regular Switch with detachable Joy-Cons is way smaller than the Nintendo Switch Lite and easier to carry around. Then you have the question of Nintendo Switch accessories. Many of us already own some truly amazing ones, but far from all of them can be used for the Nintendo Switch Lite, because they simply don't fit the smaller size revision. This goes in particular for cases, but also grips such as the Satisfy and the upcoming Switch Fix. More on those in this video, which you can also check in the end card. Much of what you have invested into your Nintendo Switch will stay with your Nintendo Switch and new Nintendo Switch, and not go over to the Nintendo Switch Lite. Pricing wise and accessory wise, I can't do anything else but recommend to everyone considering getting a Nintendo Switch to get the new baseline model instead of the Nintendo Switch Lite. But there is a but. Since it doesn't come as a shock to anyone that the Nintendo Switch has been criticized for being vulnerable to external hazards. Personally, I've gotten a rather nasty crack, and I'm far from alone. Dock scratches, dents, the list is long. So we have to ask, will this be a problem for this dedicated outdoor console? Obviously, without trying the system it's hard to tell, but I would expect a system which will be subject to exterior hazards to have a more durable shell than the hybrid option, similar to the 2DS XL. But you know what? That's not all, as the creators of Monster Boy, which we by the way highly recommend for you to check out, have now teased that there will be a specific game feature exclusive to the Nintendo Switch Lite. Quote, We have a fun idea for Monster Boy running on the Nintendo Switch Lite. It's a nifty feature that nobody needs but has to be done. So perhaps there might be a few more reasons to get a Nintendo Switch Lite, and I intend to find out hopefully at Gamescom, which I will be attending later this month. So if any one of you is there, then you're herzlich willkommen to meet me there. But for now I want to ask, are you waiting for Nintendo Switch Lite, or do you prefer the new Nintendo Switch despite the $100 price difference? Or are you waiting for a potential Nintendo Switch Pro? Leave your reply in the comment section down below. Please make sure to leave a like, and if you're new, subscribe and press that shiny notification bell to become a loyal member of the Commonwealth realm, and get in touch with me and Leo in the comment section below. Finally, we have to thank all our gracious patrons, and in particular royal producers Kenyatta Ali and Bradley Carriage. You can join them too by heading over to patreon.com/commonrealm. That's all for now, but also make sure to check out these two awesome videos.